Dale or Squire or me. Rock, paper, scissors. We can't do that 3 ways. Anyway.
Fire.
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, I got it. I'll run this one. Hi, everybody. Welcome to MVP Office Hours. We're so glad you're here today. It's May 17th, 2024. Another Friday in the life of crazy. We're so glad you're here. Oh my gosh. You can typically find us on the first and third Friday here. The bit.ly, someone knows what that is. MVP Office Hours, MVP OH, bit.ly/MVP OH. But you can find us on Twitter/X, by the way, that domain changed today. But you could also find more information at mvpofficehours.info, and you can email us. However, we don't recommend it at mvpofficehoursus@gmail.com because we want you to post in the success community. Dale or Squire, can you pop that in the chat so that everyone has a link to that?
Got it. I'll take care of it.
Thank you. And our next call is June 7th. So mark your calendars for June 7th. Because we are very excited to see you again, because we're excited to see you today, but also again. You can catch the recordings in the community and on YouTube. I don't think we post the recordings on Twitter anymore, so maybe we should update that. But if you're going to post, use our hashtags, tag us on Twitter or whatever. But we do invite everyone to share your experiences. Everyone's invited. Insights, recommendations with the group. We're all MVPs here, all of us. I'm very proud that you're all here learning new stuff, sharing your smarts. And we also want everyone to feel free and comfortable to post valuable links and resources and answers in the chat. If you have a question, use the little reactions or raise your hand icons at the bottom of your Zoom, we're in Zoom, in your Zoom chat windows, so that we know you have a question. Deal. And feel free to share your screen, but please do not share any private data or information. Remember, we are recording and we don't want to put any sensitive information out in the interwebs forever and ever and ever. Along the same lines, we want to make sure everyone has a fun and informal time with us, but we also ask that you keep it professional and positive because we all want you to have jobs at the end of this call. Is that it? That's it. Okay. Ooh, upcoming stuff. We've got a lot going on. Well, I have a lot going on. I don't know who else has a lot going on. So if you have a lot going on in the next 2 weeks, I want to see you. But DevOps Streaming is on Monday and Tuesday next week in Chicago. I'll be there. And I've been told I'm speaking, although I haven't practiced yet. And then we also have Connections in Chicago next week, where I'm not speaking, but I'll be there. And I am co-hosting a pizza party on Thursday where you don't have to be a Connections attendee. You just have to be in the Chicago area near McCormick Place. And then May 30th is Texas Dreamin'. I'm also there. If anyone else is there, I want to see you. Dreamin' in Color. I'm not going to be in New Orleans, but I know there's some folks on the call that might be. Katie. And then Release Readiness is also, the week after that. So World Tour Boston's coming up. Dreamforce is coming up. Southeast Dreaming's coming up. Big announcement is the Dreamforce call for participation closes June 6th. And that is like right before we meet again. So if you have any ideas about speaking at Dreamforce, please submit those so that you can get your chance and throw your ideas in the ring and get out there on the big stage. I think that's it. Oh, community groups, join us, sign up, because the community groups are where it's at. We want you to be part of your local community group, although we do love you here. That's it. All right. So the only question that we had since we met last was Katie, a formula. Is it my formula or can you not call a custom setting in start conditions? And Katie, do you want to explain the question a little bit more? And I think you had some resolution based on.
Mo just very quickly was like, why didn't you do the most obvious answer? And I was like, it's like 3:00. It's Friday, Steve,
So can you explain the question a little bit more so that you can also explain the answer instead of feeling like Steve just like teed you up for success really fast?
No, it was crap. It was so long ago, I forgot.
It was so long ago.
As Joy says, it was the before days.
It was in the before times, yes.
The before today's. So I was doing my best admin efforts not to hard code a record ID.
Mhm.
And being that it's in the start conditions, you can't do the get element. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'll just make a custom setting and then I will call it into my start conditions, but you can't just put the formula resource in the start conditions unless you use a formula field for your conditions. And it just was not firing off of it no matter how many times I tried. And believe me, my architect checked, like the IDs were all right, everything was set up. It just didn't know that this happened, but it doesn't call it. So Steve Mo was like, why don't you just use the name, the dot name? And
All
I was
right. Well,
fried.
you owe Steve a beer.
Yeah, I was so brain fried at that point and totally overthought the whole thing but learn something new. I mean, even though every time you do something, whether you succeed or fail, you learn a way not to do something. And apparently you can't put a custom permission in a starting conditions formula thing. So
And did we talk about why that is?
no, I don't know. Steve Mo did not
Sure.
tell me.
So there's some, and I'm sure someone else can jump in and help, but there's some interesting, like under the covers things going on. So if you think about the perspective of a record triggered flow, it's passing a trigger map of the current record to the flow to evaluate. And so at runtime, it only knows the map of the event or like the triggering event of that record. And that's why it doesn't know anything about your custom setting or any of that other stuff. What gets interesting is that you can write some really interesting stuff that could say, look at a custom setting and create a formula field that's on the record that now is evaluated by the record in the flow. So like you could really make it complex and unnecessarily like poopy. You did it fine. So, but that's why you're passing the record map to the flow on a record triggered flow, and all it knows is that one record.
Well, I actually didn't use Steve's .name suggestion in my starting resource. I was like, you're right, but I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I had already figured out by the time he had responded, just take the record ID and put it in my first decision element. And I got to, if it doesn't meet that criteria, just do nothing. But yeah. So
And did it make you feel uncomfortable to hard code an ID into your entry criteria?
well, I wouldn't, so I wasn't uncomfortable. I didn't do it.
Oh, I thought you said that's what you did, is you put in the ID.
No. No.
Okay,
I was
cool.
hell bent on not doing that.
Awesome. All right.
All right.
So just to expand one more layer on Squire's point there, like Salesforce, part of the why is, yeah, you could really open up not only like uncomfortable and gnarly, but potentially like time the whole freaking system out if you wanted to. And so Salesforce has put that safeguard around those kinds of things. Might be annoying in some places, but it's actually to help keep you safe.
Oh my gosh, we have no questions. What are we going to do? What are we going to do, friends? No questions. I don't believe it. You all came to share your knowledge. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Kathy. Hi.
Hey, it's Kat. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. You have Catherine on your little name.
I
and I'm like,
know.
what?
I know.
It's like, what? That's not right.
I have a best practice question that I would love some opinions
we have no one teed up for questions. So Kat, back that up, Squire. Dale.
Okay.
Typing, it's Kat.
So we I would love to hear people's opinions on kind of a on hold / parking lot status within the sales process for opportunities.
Mhm.
I've been out on Trailblazer. I've been looking at a lot of content. I've kind of seen a lot of feedback of like, that's where opportunities go to die. But I've also seen like other people say, yeah, we do that too and everything. I just kind of wanted to hear from the group, if you think, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Generally, I'm also like looking, I think, for a little bit of kind of either clarity or ammunition one way or the other, to make some recommendations.
Rather than status, how are you using close date?
Well, for those opportunities, right? And I think this has sparked a conversation of we need to define our governance around opportunities and set up how many times can an opportunity be kicked? How many times can the close date change? Obviously, like I have, like one of my example opportunities is, hey, I have something from 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Do we really want to count this as an open opportunity? Should this even be in the pipeline, right? And I think the internal narrative that I'm battling is people saying, I don't want to create more work for account managers to basically close that opportunity and reopen the
So,
opportunity.
I mean, they have the option to clone an opportunity,
Right.
right? And there's a lot of things you can do with this, right? I would recommend, if you are going to go with this on hold parking lot situation, that it's time boxed. That like there is like a limited duration that they can sit in there. Like if it's less than a month, they can sit there. Or if there is like there's another activity that comes after it's on hold, or there is a clear date, like line in the sand, like after X number of days, like we close it if it's been there. But that's also just making the whole process more complex. So I think maybe there's some hard conversations around, why would you be putting something on hold instead of just closing it lost and then reopening it when they re-engage?
Yeah.
Or cloning it when they re-engage. Dale, what do you got?
My opinion is you're spot on with the governance question.
Yeah.
Is first of all, if we're I mean, and this applies to literally every object in anywhere, but
Right.
what is its purpose? What does one record signify? And then at a field level, what do each of those points, especially close date, especially status, et cetera, what are they intended to signify so that it's not ambiguous? I have never loved manual changes as a result of external factors, because like, if a sales rep is selling to a customer that just flat out ran out of budget this year, but still potentially is a warm lead for next year, like, no, really, here's our accounting statements, we have no money for this year, but next year, that's not the seller's fault. So when it comes to subjective human driven things like that, I've never, ever, ever loved it. And I have less loved it when you have cumbersome processes built around the whole human thing. What I also get not wanting to just kick it down the road, but a very simple thing you could do is, okay, yep, close date changes. It keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed.
Yeah.
Run a report on opportunity field history tracking. And then when that close date is changed, it's a question of, okay, hey, saw the close date pushed out. I don't know, pick a manager's or pick a VP's minimum threshold, 30, 60, 90, 180 days, whatever. But then that becomes a conversation of, hey, why'd this kick out? And then problem solve it from there. Because sometimes you do need to have a human decision on it, not a process decision. But over complexifying the system because of external factors is just going to be a headache in the end and long term, in my opinion.
So I want to throw in some sales side stuff because I spent 20 years in outside sales. Are your people using leads up to a certain point and then it becomes an opportunity?
No. So these are primarily existing customers. So the account is already created. They're already existing customers. It's really upsell, cross-sell is the focus.
Okay.
And so we did introduce a stage 0 within our process for leads, because within our products, some of these sales cycles are going to be a year to 2 years out, and we understand that, right? So we are trying to like capture some of that information, but some of these ones that have been that are not in that very small subset of products that should be in stage 0. If it's in any other stage, right, I think that's where we are just getting people moving things out and out and out instead of just closing it. And like Joy, what you were saying, it's like, yeah, you can clone it, or it's not that hard to, create the new opportunity if things have changed. Or we also have it where it's related, where we link our opportunities to say, I got this opportunity from that opportunity, and try to tell that story there.
And that makes more sense to me only because if you're not in cross-sell, upsell, now I get that.
Yeah.
Guys, I called on somebody for 3 years for logistics before they picked up the phone and I got an appointment. So that's why I'm like, I don't want you to close that out yet.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, if a decision is made, you want to update the opportunity with that decision. It could be, we don't have budget. Well, we lost it. And there's that lost reason field. Lost, they had no
Right.
budget, right? It wasn't our fault. They just had no budget. And then, as Joy mentioned, you can clone that when the time comes around, because things will change. If you're going to wait a year and retry again, things will change, right? The people might change, the circumstances change. And then if you keep kicking that opportunity down the road, you are going to have a spaghetti mess of information there that might not be relevant. But what I would look at is it affecting your reporting? Chances it is, right? And that really is the whole point of closing an opportunity, right? I can see exactly how many open opportunities somebody has. I can see the average duration. How long does it take to reach a decision? All of that detail goes into it. So if there's a way that you can help them efficiently close it and then create that new one when the time comes, then that should help them follow the process, I guess.
Yeah. No, and that's helpful. I think, some of it, I think part of it is this whole thing of, it's not hard to open an opportunity, right? It's also not hard to close an opportunity, right? So we don't make it difficult. And so it's just
it's hard because it hurts.
Emotionally. That's right.
Well, that's the thing. Is the boss doing your ratio is 25%. Well,
I mean, sales has classically always been wild, wild west, competitive, and I do it my way. Like, period. No system is ever going to wrap its arms around that, like ever, ever, ever.
Yeah, and we're really trying to bring in best practices, and this one has come up specifically. And again, it's just more of hey, I've done my research. I'm showing it's not a good idea. And then I was like, when I saw the office hours come up, I was like, I will ask people too, for their opinion. So to I think validate a lot of what we were hearing. Cause sometimes I'm like, maybe it's just me and I have my firm opinion and, I just need to know if I need to change, but it sounds like I'm right. And yes, no, we shouldn't be doing these on hold stuff.
I think best practice is no on hold status.
Right.
But you have an uphill battle.
Yes, for sure. But it's all good.
And there are ways to accommodate it that we all hate. So there's.
I'll just add that we added a close no decision close stage, because sales reps just hate marking anything as close loss. They hate admitting that they lost anything. So we put parameters around close no decision so that, if something happened that was not the fault of the sales rep, like their budget went away. They had a budget and all of a sudden they lost it because they got bought or there's a bunch of reasons that we have around closed no decision. But we did add
super
that.
interesting. I like it, Diane. I like it.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things is we are, our sales cycles are long, even for upsell, cross sells. Our team is not, they are not bonused on win rate. So I have a lot of this hey, if you're not bonused on this, why are we so attached to the close lost, right? Because we're not negatively impacting your compensation, right? By just saying it's lost, right? This is truly just more of improving the process. So that's just some of the things where I could see if you're in high volume and yes, that's what you're being bonus and your pay is being structured on that. Absolutely. I could understand why incorporating lost no reason or lost, you know, that other stage. But it's like
The egos
Yeah,
of the salespeople is so delicate. It's so delicate.
Yes, it is.
Whew.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
they don't want their cohorts to see what they didn't really close, what they lost.
Mhm.
That's an ego thing. They're
I know.
salespeople.
I know. And it's a mindset, and learning from opportunities that are not closed won is really hard. Folks don't ever want to talk about it. They just want to shove it back into the back of the closet and pretend it didn't happen and move forward with the next opportunity so they don't have to experience that again. But
now,
growth is hard.
But Dale said something interesting that
Did?
yeah. Boy, can you re-say what you said? Because as you were saying it, you were saying, like, you know, sales processes are hard, or this opportunity thing is hard. And I'm like, as you were saying it, I'm like, yeah, and so is DevOps. Like, everything that you were talking about remind me
Chaotic,
of
Wild West.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wild west. If
Competitive.
everybody does it their own way, if every team, if every product team, engineering team does it their way, then it becomes this mess. And I see that opportunity path being the same way that I'm struggling with our DevOps process. Our pipeline looks like that same opportunity struggle of, and
Mhm.
why is it a problem? Yeah, something because engineers are finicky, and you don't want to hurt their feelings, and because they do it their way and whatever. It's kind of like salespeople.
Because they control access to the systems and you don't want to piss them off. Like what?
No,
It
because
goes back to governance. If you have governance that
thank
protects
you.
you from
Thank
the
you.
from the engineers, then
because they're like, where is it written? Where is it written that I can't do it this way?
right.
Do I have to use the pipeline? Do I have to use Visual Force Studio? Do I have to? I know I'm making up words now, but do I have to do it that way? Yes, you do. Every team needs to do it that way. Every sales team needs to do it that way. Every DevOps team needs to do it that way, because we have governance, because we want things to go in the right cycle in order to make a product and sell a product and build something that everyone can build. And I know that some people don't like that. Some
Well,
people want to just do it their way.
And here's the two words that protect you from the people who don't want to do it are audit and legal. Because if an opportunity is won or lost for any number of reasons, and somebody does decide to raise a stink about it, they are very well, anybody is well within their grounds to raise an audit, which is a pain in the butt, and to bring in legal, which is a massive pain in the butt. So if you have governance, if you have rules, if you have this written down and documented, these are the rules we play by, that's your starting point. If you hit a point where they need to be iterated, which is a word that I don't know why it's 2024 and more people don't know what it means. If they need to be iterated, then you open the conversation and you figure out, okay, maybe this doesn't apply. Maybe it wasn't robust enough. Let's scrutinize it. Let's figure it out and see if we need to adjust and move forward or backward or whatever. But everybody's so afraid of documentation because they have a fixed mindset that goes straight to, oh, that's gospel. Oh, that's going to be way too ironclad. Can't do that. Need freedom. No, you need to be protected. Like,
and is it not happening right because your process is too complicated? Like, just the simple Stuart can't figure it out. Then make it simpler. Then don't have 12 different stages. Just have 4 stages. Is it that hard to do? Like, and then do that for a while, and then figure out, well, actually, we need 5. Okay, then fix it. We can fix things and move along. We don't have to be stuck in this whole, like, I only do things this way because that's all I ever did in my life, and that's all I'm like, I'm driving. Yeah, I am gonna go crazy in this postal world. Anyway, but
Thanks, Stuart.
it's not just opportunities. It's in the service side. It's on the DevOps side. It's on, everybody is trying to like do this strange thing, and it's like, wait, slow down. What is the actual problem you're having, and how can we make it simpler? How can we actually follow it and have governance and make it right, and give that carrot or stick, whatever. I like carrots. I'd rather hand you a carrot than hand you a stick. But
I don't think you're handing them a stick. That's not how that works.
but and also, I mean, to lean in positively on it, it's not only like, what problem do we have and what do we need to fix? It's, hey, what worked well? What got us the majority of our success, whether that's positive customer sentiment through cases or good sales or whatever. What worked? Let's shape the process around that, because I'm willing to bet what worked well was incredibly simple. Let's start with that. We didn't overcomplicate it and it worked.
The cat,
Thank-
my closing thought on this, because we're gonna go to Stu, Pat, Jake, Susan. My close, and Clayton has a question, so Squire, mark that one down too. Kat, is that an on hold position is just a delayed decision, and like no decision is like no response is a response. You know, when you ask someone a question, they choose not to respond to you, that is a response. So I don't know. Good luck. I don't envy that battle. And you know, maybe it's a conversation about folks not wanting to admit that they weren't a qualified lead to begin with. I don't know.
So
Lots
I
of
will
things.
challenge you with this, Kat. In the spirit of call for speakers or call for participation, whatever Dreamforce calling it now, like as you go through this, document it, report back, and seriously, like consider making a presentation out of it, because if you can fix it relatively simply, you are solving a lot of people's problems.
And if you don't want to do Dreamforce, I've got a community group in Chicago, the admin community group, that would love to hear about it. So.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I'll go fight the good fight and I will report back
All right.
on what we
Yeah.
do.
Document
right.
your steps along the way, and that's your success story.
Yeah. Squire, who's next? You said.
Stu, you had some thoughts way back to Katie. Would you like to address them, or are you feeling good about it?
I feel pretty good about it. It would just take a small, and I think maybe the problem has to do with the formula piece. Yeah, I know. You can laugh at me, Joy.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Please
but-
tell me more.
So during that talk, I was looking up in the help files, and there are a number of people that use custom settings to handle like automations, like to stop or start triggers, or to skip triggers, or to I even looked up like frameworks for handling flows, and some of that could be done, I believe, unless everyone's telling me no, that's actually impossible to use custom settings. Is it the formula part of it that's the problem?
I was going to show you my formula, but it checks out. The syntax checks out. And it's very simple. If this box is false and the custom setting equals, this, that's it. Like it's not complex. And it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. Wouldn't work. And when I took out the custom setting piece of it, it worked.
Then it works. Okay.
Is that an order of execution thing? Is formula plus custom setting potentially not getting it when you want it to?
It was even more simple. All I had is the record type, which is the custom setting, equal this. Like there wasn't even the checkbox piece of it. And it still wouldn't work. So I don't know what it was, but I just removed it and then added that decision later.
Yeah, the only thing that I guess comes to mind is that I know looking up data and metadata in the same call is sometimes problematic, especially in flow. So that might be the thing that gets you. Sorry.
Found a way around it.
Appreciate it.
It's probably something we should sit down and like do a quick demo of some other time and just pull it apart. Because even from the debug perspective, it'd be really nice to see what would the debug, because like I made a comment on the thing about syntax and functionality aren't the same thing, right? You can write an if statement that meets syntax that will never succeed, right? Because it just looks at the context of the formula. But if we were to like build it and then show the debug and show like, well, here's why we think it's not doing anything, it could help pull it apart, but maybe not today. So
Well, if you ever need content, I'll have it for you.
awesome.
Thanks,
Saved
Kate.
as version 1 of the flow, not going anywhere.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for sharing. That's good stuff.
There you go. Pat was up next. Pat, what I didn't see any context. I just saw that you had a question.
This is a simple question, okay? You guys are probably laugh. But how do you use time? How would you create, what field would you create to use time so it is just the number? So it's like 32 minutes and 54 seconds.
What's the say more about the context? So are you trying to turn time into a string to do a comparison?
No, building out a a small app. I ride my bike every day. And so I thought, oh, okay, I can just build this app to keep track of my time every day and this and that and how far I go. So yes, I do have an app on my watch that tells me the exact time, but I'm like, let's make it a little more sophisticated, and I'm going to input that time in, but then I'm going to, what if I put the start time and the end time?
Sure.
So I 100% hear you, because I have a 20-year-old running log in Excel where I've said this a million times before. Clayton's the guy who gave me my first job way back when. And I'd say I probably spent half my time learning Excel that way. Statute of limitations have expired, by the way, Clayton, so I can't get in trouble for it. But all that to say, that's a great way to learn not only Salesforce, but some of the complexities and how all of that go. With Salesforce time, you are literally looking at a time. Like right now, it is 1:36 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. It's not a duration. And so I think what you're potentially having to look at is 2 fields or 3 fields: hours, minutes, seconds. And those are all formulas that can do math off of points in time. But if you want it to be like an actual, this is a duration field, I don't think you can concatenate all of that into a single field and still have it be a duration. But you can have 3 formula fields that are numbers, one that is hours, one that is minutes, one that is seconds. And if you have the right functions in your formula fields, derive how many hours, minutes, seconds between 1:37 p.m. and let's call it 11:58 a.m.
Pat, Stu put a link in the chat for you, how to calculate time duration from the Trailblazer
In
community.
a text formula field. It becomes text that way, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to keep it numeric, I don't know that you can do that all in one field.
Got
And
it.
I think the trick of it is that you have to remember that time is an abstract value of calculation. So 60 seconds isn't really a number. It's a representation of something else entirely. So like you have to do some abstraction, right? Like 1:30 means 1:30 in the afternoon on a calendar. It means 1 hour, 30 minutes to you when you read it. It means 1 to the factor of 30 if you type it into a calculator. It's like you have to remember that you pull it all apart and say, okay, what I want to do is say, is that 90 minutes and what am I going to do with that? Or is that 2,760 seconds? What do I want to do with that? And
that's the other thing. Like, do you
pull it
just
apart.
go to the smallest increment, put your duration in seconds, and then do your calculations from there? Also is a possibility.
When I was working at a public television station, and their whole thing was pledge drives and what's happening each hour of the pledge drive, we dissected the whole concept of time and just split it up into the hour. So every hour was a number, and then within an hour you've got so many minutes, and so we went in backwards in time. So what was 5 minutes before the hour is just the number 5. And so we took, although we had to time it, it became just a series of numbers inside of a different number, and then use that to calculate what happened each hour of the pledge drive. How many donations did we get? How many gifts did we give back? How much, where was it at? And we did that after a lot of failures, after trying to figure out the time and then realizing time is just a conception. And you can break out time and just have it be a series of numbers.
Okay.
But with the core of it being that time field is clock time, 1:39 p.m. CT, or
it's not duration.
5 hours.
Yeah. It's not duration. That's the key, I think, Dale. Absolutely. Yeah. Does that help, Pat? Or does that just make it crazier?
What Dale's just the last part he said makes me wonder when he says, when I'm talking about the time, it is the duration, not
right. And that's
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is if you're trying to leverage the time type field in Salesforce to do duration, it's not going to work. But you can respect that a time field is a time, and then through other fields, get to a duration answer that you're looking for.
Got it. Yeah, I saw what,
You could also reverse that, right? With a start time and then plug in your duration and have like a formula calculate the end time.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely
playing
you
around.
can. But at its core, the
Mhm.
input field is always going to be clock time. Now 1340 Central.
got it. Yeah. I clicked on what Stuart posted, and that's probably one of the ones I came up with. I thought, oh, there gotta be an easier way than this. Wrong. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Nope. In my experience, I've used duration is minutes, and that was the smallest increment we got to. Seconds weren't as essential to my use case, so we just went with minutes, and we didn't go hours and minutes, we just did minutes. So if it was over 60, it was 75 minutes, or it was 110 minutes, it just was minutes, for simplicity.
Wait
that-
until you start trying to do the math where it's
No.
6:45, 1.5 hours or 1 1/4 hours. Or...
No. Stop it.
All right.
Stop it. So Pat, you're all set then? All right, fantastic. Yay. I love these. I love it.
Jake had questions on using maps.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Jake still on? Jake.
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, talk to us.
Yeah, so I am in an org that I inherited about 6 weeks ago when I started this job. And one of the fancy SKUs that they purchased back in January is Salesforce Maps. Use case is we have some outside part sales reps that are not currently in Salesforce that we will eventually like have them use a combination of Salesforce and Salesforce Maps to make their clunky processes smoother, not be in like 5 systems, but be in like 1, maybe 2. So anyway, just trying to look at maps and understand all the different objects and all the different neato skeeto things you can do with this thing. And I'll share my screen here real quick.
Are you sure you can, sir?
It's 6 weeks. If they fire me, it's fine. Whatever.
Jake, oh my God.
That's why we have that bullet point on slide number 2. Come on, man.
Press stand by.
Ooh, we
This is
do
right.
have a mappy person online, Linda.
Yep, perfect.
Yep.
So basically, this is one of the data layers that is included with the SKU. I think I'm looking at like auto dealerships or something like that for my data source. Yeah, auto dealerships, perfect. But in order to build automation and have that automation live in these action buttons, it has to be based on the object. So if I wanted to do something with my buddy Stan McNabb and his Chevy Buick GMC Cadillac dealership here, any ideas, any thoughts on what that object would be? Because there's just a couple of them here in the SKU.
So question one, do you have support?
Nope.
Not at all. You guys don't have Premiere or anything.
Correct.
And you bought maps and you didn't consider the little add-on.
Now Jake didn't buy maps, someone else did.
I know. But so the last time I did a maps implementation, there was this offer for this learning thing that you could do where you could get so many hours with a consultant to kind of walk you through some of the setup. That was very helpful. I don't know that any of those objects are what you're really looking for what you're talking about doing.
Yeah.
So it's really usually you're setting up, you're kind of creating your own things and you're saying, hey, this is like the piece of data I need to use to route. You have to set up, there's some jobs you have to set up to do to make sure it's GPSing the addresses, especially if those are not just the account or the contact object. You actually have to schedule jobs to do that calculation.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, what were you running that map on? What was your core Salesforce object?
So I mean, they'll primarily be using accounts, but this is the one of the built-in data layers. So it's coming from an external data source.
your count, is that piece of data being shown there?
No, that's from my data source here.
So that's external data, which means that's got to be GPS though. So the addresses have to have the coordinates within it.
But I don't
Yeah,
think,
that's one of those data layers that they give you, like if you can put population, like census, like all of like those out of the box layer ones, you're not going to be able to, I don't think, go a bunch of custom on the actions. If they were like records, like accounts
Right.
on whatever that has like a address that you have coordinates on, you can put different actions and stuff on them. One quick warning thing about maps before you go and do anything crazy custom, just know that in the next release, there's changes coming to how maps works, and they've rebuilt a lot of stuff related to it in the summer release. So they're moving from like vector. It shouldn't make a difference, but like, just be aware of that. There's some changes in it. Even if your sandbox on the next release on summer, it might not actually be, because maps is still a package. So I don't know which version. I don't think they've deployed it yet, but there's some big changes coming to maps in summer. So be aware.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
and
What
I'll
action
support
in
that
it-
last.
What action were you hoping to add?
I don't know. I'm just trying to see what the opportunities and what the capabilities are.
I mean, I can.
You could
I mean,
create a record. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
yeah,
go
you
ahead.
can create a record, but you can also like put in updates to like kind of think of it kind of like your update actions within your lightning pages that you create. You know, you can do kind of the same thing with those map action buttons. You know, you can create things that'll update records that are related or the record, but you have to have that relationship there.
Right.
So like if I am mapping all the opportunities I have, say in this particular state or for a particular sales rep on each of those, within each of the pins, I can have actions that say, hey, I want to, move to the next stage, or I want to record a call, or, prepare quote or log a visit, things like that. Those are kind of the actions you can put directly on there for that salesperson to use from within the map. There's some actions that are native within there. So once they get into things like I'm creating a route of I'm going to travel to these 5 different stores, so I'm going to put them in a route. There's some actions you can add that allow them to add, I need to add in a stop here to this other customer, or I can add an action that lets me see, are there any other customers nearby?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I feel like that was very informative. So I appreciate everybody chiming
I think Susan, is that right?
Yep, Susan.
Yes.
Oh, no,
Short-term memory is working. Oh, you don't have a question. You had.
I raised my hand to answer a question from earlier.
All right. So who do we have after Susan?
Clayton is next then.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Just as follow up to the earlier conversation, Christy and Dale both, I think we can appreciate some of the close dates and some of the fun that we've had in the past. But to Christy's point, an opportunity basically, when you're looking at sales cycles, like we used to have some CRM software where you built sales cycles. The equivalent in Salesforce, would that be just utilizing tasks?
Dale, you have to unmute. We can't hear your frustration.
I think what Dale was trying to say is that everything in Salesforce is a task. You could put everything in a task.
Ooh.
Right? That's the answer.
It's what are you trying to accomplish within the thing? I mean, yeah.
Well, think back to Circle 4.
No. Okay, fine.
What is Circle 4 in Salesforce? Tasks? Call cycle?
Yeah, yes, it's tasks, but it's what can you then trigger, if anything, when a task is completed, or if a task is delegated, if a task is anything. And that's it.
Some organizations have the sales process that use the opportunity stages as the steps of the sales cycle. So if you've reached so many, now we're getting into difficult territory, because some places say if you got a certain amount of fields represented on the opportunity, then you've reached a new stage of the opportunity. Everybody does it a little bit different. Every sales, what do they call this? It's more than a sales process. It's like a sales foundation.
Methodology.
Methodology. Yeah. They all do it a little bit different. That's a good
right. And the thing is, even as everybody's doing it differently, a sales process, and I could even argue a support process, is rarely linear. It's rarely even yet a series of yes no's. There's, as much as we want to dog on salespeople for being competitive, for being
Efficient.
wild west, well, overly efficient.
Efficient to their paycheck. That's what they are.
Right. It's reflective of they're doing what they need to do to survive. It's not always on just the salesperson. It's also on the limitations of the system to try to get released, so that they may actually be right when they say, I have to do it this way because I can't, or I can't because you say I need to, whatever. And that's where sales cycles, sales processes are never thought through enough, and you can still spend hours and hours and months on defining sales cycle and still come up with a simple process. It's very multidimensional and very much not linear. So could you do tasks? Yeah, probably, if your process is so simple that within one stage you need to do A, B, and C, and within the next, and when you've accomplished that, like to Stuart's point, if those 3 tasks are completed and you automatically graduate to the next stage, okay, great, fine. If that process is the process, then great, that's relatively easy to build. But I'd argue, is it ever?
Yeah, I think what I would throw out there is, to me, an opportunity is you've built that relationship, or because in the transportation industry, we're constantly doing repetitive calls. And you're either going for an increase or even new customers. But I can remember saying a lot of times, it's great that you want to keep calling on them, but this opportunity is pretty much dead. But that doesn't mean you can't keep them in a call cycle. So I wasn't necessarily talking about within the context of a opportunity, but more so, call on them every 4 weeks, once a quarter, something like that. And then when you have something that you can act on, put it into an opportunity.
Yeah, it's like leveraging like tracking your meetings, tracking your activity through call logs and all of that, like to keep the relationships warm, and then restarting the opportunity once they confirm, right? Oh, great. Thanks for calling on me. Now I do have the budget now, like Dale, you were saying earlier. So
right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, which I think then also lends to, if you have anybody in your sales team that has implemented their own process of, okay, here's my opportunities, here's my deals, here's things that are actually going to get closed, versus here's my people I keep on speed dial and take to lunch because I know they're due for something. If they have a process of how they're tracking that, and maybe it's just an indicator on contacts, or they preset tasks or whatever, and it's not in opportunities, that's a process that can be stood up because you already have proof that it worked, and it doesn't have to be super heavyweight. But again, it could look different across organizations, but maybe have most of a same template.
Yep.
It's going to look different for everybody. I mean, as I was going through a few minutes ago, thinking like very rarely is the process linear, like at a fast food restaurant. You then get the people like my kids who special order the crap out of everything. Well, that breaks the linear process, and you're still kind of deviating to try to make sure that you have a satisfactory sale. So no process is linear. But I think then having the bank of people that you can take for coffee or you can take for lunch, because they'll probably do, or maybe they connect you to that next sale through networking, whatever it may be. That's where it doesn't fit in opportunities, but can still be sustainable and scalable to incorporate back into the funnel.
Yeah. And we try, one of the things we've added to our opportunity is the source of the opportunity, because we are trying to give credit to people who are just saying, I got this because of my relationships, right? I got this because I have a champion who is willing to go to bat for me. And we are trying to, just as a simple, like, did this come up because you're doing QBRs and you had the QBR and customers want the thing? Or is it just because you're taking people out for lunch and all of that stuff versus, this is just truly the long-term roadmap, that they've been working on. So that's one of the ways that we've tried to showcase the power of the relationship, especially for existing upsell, cross-sell opportunities, because, that to me, that really all comes down to relationships. So.
Oh yeah. Like I take my realtor that has done our last 3 houses. We're only going to go to her when we need to sell our house and buy a house. But if we need something fixed, we know she has the network of mom and pops to go to, that they can count on her as well for getting solid referrals. And it's that relationship that somewhere down the road, that's going to increase someone's sales somehow. And in the end, everybody wins.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Y'all just keep coming back to this on hold status.
Listen,
it's a good one, Kat. It's a good
I
one.
was like, it was giving me so much agita, guys. Like, I was like, seriously, like, I can't believe. Like, I was just,
it's good.
I had to scale myself back because my immediate thought was, I'm gonna send you an email of like all the reasons why. Like,
you've heard of this whole like space, the sales blazers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get some more opinions in that corner of the world also. But we are just about out of time, friends. So I am super excited to see everyone in 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I don't know.
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
We're on a 5 Friday May.
3 weeks to get all of your submissions to Dreamforce for participation. And no, Stuart, Dale doesn't have 3 houses.
No.
Silliness. He's bought and sold 3. He's moved 3 times. But he doesn't have 3 houses. And for those of you that are going to be in Austin and in Chicago and in Portland, and I don't know where else I'm going to be, I can't wait to see you. Make sure you find me and throw something at me. Hopefully it's something nice and soft and maybe a cookie.
Really more to confirm that if you're going to be in all those places at the same time, that if they're throwing something at you, it's at you and not your hologram.
Dale, I am terrified of being a hologram. So
okay, don't be a hologram. Simple fix. Why does everybody overcomplicate everything? It's so simple. Don't be a hologram.
I will try not to be a hologram. All of you have heard it here first. I don't want to be a hologram. But that's it for today. So thanks everybody. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us. Bring your friends next time. We're so glad to see you. Bring your problems. Stuart shaking your head at me. Ouch. 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 Midwest Dreaming's coming up. I'll see you soon, Stuart. Right. All that good stuff. We'll see you guys later.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. Bye.